Hi guys, well here's the challenge. We currently have 5 Moodle themes. They are things like Moodle Course, Main, NCDEA, NCEE. There's also a 5th one which is the HR theme, not on our test server, but is on our production server. And the challenge we've got, particularly as we go forward into Moodle 3.1, is 5 times the themes equals 5 times the workload and 5 times the potential cost, because I could imagine Andrew Godgic actually charging us for each and every one of our themes as they upgrade and maintain for 3.1. So the other thing about our current design layout, for instance, is we have our banner up here, and really those 5 themes, all they in essence do is swap out the banner. So largely the rest of the stuff on the screen looks identical between the themes. So there's a lot of overhead having 5 themes to effectively swap out a banner. But also there's a little bit of available space that we could better utilise in this banner area here. And whilst we have our own inline banners lower down on the page, which are perfectly serviceable, there's a couple of challenges with those. Each individual banner needs to be edited and put in manually. So you'll notice, for instance, this is just the generic banner, but I'm in a course of entirely different name and title. So in order to update that, I have to manually go in and edit them. But it's also occupying just a bit more vertical space again. So if you might notice on this page, I actually have to scroll right off the screen in order to get to any real content. So there might be some efficiencies we can look to by unifying the function of this banner here into the Moodle banner itself, but also look at how we can deal with the logoing of that banner. So I've got a concept that I'd like to show you. Here it is here. This is based on that very clean theme using one of the Moodle core themes, just called Clean. And it has some interesting design elements straight away. So the first thing to note is that there's a logo here, more on that later, and it actually displays the title of the subject up in the banner itself. So in some respects it does away for the need for that inline banner. But again, I'm going to cover that in more detail as I show you some more features. Importantly, however, it knows some stuff about the subject that you're in and can work out then how to display the title up here and what logo to display here. So for instance, I'm in the courses area now. How about I pick this subject up and move it into one of the other theme areas? So I'm going to go to Edit Settings. And I'm going to say, well, no, this isn't a courses anymore, it's NCEE. And I'll save and display. You might notice now it's immediately swapped out that banner graphic for the NCEE graphic. Let me do that again. Save and display. Now it's really important to note that this is actually all the one theme. I'm not swapping themes at all here, but I have written a little bit of script that works out where the subject is. It works out that it's in NCDE and therefore applies the NCDE branding to that. So that's great. That's already a step above what we previously had, and it limits the number of themes from 5 down to 1, which is a great advantage. But I've also built in some smarts into the whole system. I want to show you those. So you'll recall we've got a naming convention going into 2017 that starts with the unit code, a colon, the title, and then the year of delivery. So I'm going to put that in just as if it were a standard unit code. I'll copy that, put that into the short name as well, and I'll save and display. Now what you'll notice is it's actually taken that and pulled it apart. So here's the descriptive title, that's retained. The code now is displayed here, and the year of delivery is displayed in the banner as well. And can you see what that's doing? It's effectively giving us much more space to our content because we no longer necessarily need that inline banner previously displayed here. It's kind of become redundant now because the system just works it out. And there's no extra overhead to change the details. It simply looks to the breadcrumbs and pulls apart the magic here. It takes the code, places it here, takes the title, places it here, takes the year of delivery and places it here. So let's extend on that a bit further, because we've got some other things that we can put into our naming convention. So for instance, it might be a cluster of units, and you recall we'll put a pipe between that. So maybe this is a cluster of 3 units. I need to put that same information into the short name. Save and display. So now you'll notice that what it's actually done is to do the same thing, but it's actually pulled this apart. Now it says codes, because there's more than one, and it's ripped apart the various codes to display them up here. And that now helps us to meet our compliance requirements, because one of the great advantages of putting the information into the banner at the top of the screen is that's persistent throughout all of Moodle. So for instance, if you go into very, very important screens like the grade screen, you still get to see the unit codes that are covered within this unit of competency. So it greatly helps us meet our compliance regulations. This screen, by the way, if we relied on our inline banner, it's simply not present on this screen, so it wouldn't be a good alternative to that. Let's do a little bit more with our inline banners, because there's one other element, or in fact there's 2 of them, that we also include in our naming convention. One is to identify the audience, so I'll do that. Now you might recall that the way that we do that is we put it in brackets here. So for instance, that's the wine audience, and I put a comma in. Again, I'm just going to copy that, paste that into that, and save and display. Now our banner displays also the intended audience, so it's very easy then to spot as we move between subjects, whether it's for wine or for viticulture, whatever the different naming conventions are. And one final cherry on top, if I go to Edit Settings and declare this as an in development subject, if you recall we do that by changing this to ID. Again, I'll copy that, paste it into here, and save this for the final time. What you might notice now is it changes the visual display. It now has it's kind of a red banner showing this as in development. So I think there's a bit of a fail-safe that we can very clearly and obviously spot those subjects that are in development versus those that are in production and in effectively real student delivery. So I've got a little bit more work to do, but I just want to raise that as a concept for you. I think there's a lot more opportunity in this approach even than is demonstrated in this tutorial. So for example, if we wanted to do sub-branding, we could also do that, because as long as the information is in the breadcrumbs, we could then pull that information apart and include it in the banner in whatever way we see fit. So there you go. We'll have a chat about it soon.